Hi, fourth graders. It's math time, and it's good to see you guys. If you'll turn to page 333, we'll get started with math. 333. We have been working on moving fractions from a fraction to a mixed number. So if we're doing that with this, we would say how many ones are in 2? Well, there's just 2 of them. And if we take the 2 from 2, there's nothing left. Let's do another one quickly while you're getting to page 333. What if we have 14 sixths? How would we move that to a mixed number? Well, we would say how many 6's are there in 14? How many 6's are there in 14? There's 2, right? And 2 times 6 is 12. So when we take that 12 away from the 14, that leaves just 2 in our numerator. And remember, our denominator always stays the same. So we practiced going from fractions to mixed numbers and mixed numbers back to fractions the last unit and yesterday. Hopefully that you're being able to understand that. Might just spend some time practicing that if you're having trouble with it. Today we're using that same skill for our math lesson on page 333, except we're using it in word problems, real life problems. So we have a beautiful picture of the Grand Canyon. We studied about that in social studies, and we know that the deepest part is about 1 1/6 miles. Well, there's one thing to notice here. It says about, but in this case we're not rounding anything. You can see this number isn't a number that we would round, so it just means that it's not measured exactly. It's a close measurement, and that the ocean is almost 6 times as deep. Again, that's just a measurement issue. So you can see when we get to our answer at the bottom of the page, we're going to use the word about to show that it's a measurement thing. We're not actually rounding. So when we look at this, we know we have a couple of numbers here. We have 1 1/6 and 6 times. So we know this clue is a clue that we're going to multiply. We're going to multiply our two numbers, 1 1/6 and 6 times. We can do that with a picture. Here's our 1 1/6 that shows how deep the Grand Canyon is. So we can label this Grand Canyon. And we know that the ocean is 6 times that. So here's 6 boxes. We're going to put 1 and 1/6 in each one of those boxes to show that it is 1 and 1/6 times 6. And this one is our ocean, the deepest part of the ocean. Well, that has it all nice and drawn out, but it doesn't give our answer, so we need to find an equation. Let's skip this part. Well, I guess we'll fill it in. M just stands for the deepest part of the ocean again. Remember, this was the ocean. So we need an equation. M stands for 1 1/6, because that's what we started with, times, we said that there was a times problem because we saw that word right here, times. And we see that we have written it 6 times here, so it's times 6. That was the other number that we had in our problem. 1 1/6 times 6. Now, to do this, we know we have to change this mixed number to a fraction, because in order to multiply or divide fractions, or mixed numbers, we always have to have them in fraction form. So that's what we're doing next, is changing that mixed number to a fraction. And we do that, remember, by multiplying the whole number times the denominator, adding the numerator. Always whole number times denominator, add the numerator. So 1 times 6 is 6, plus 1 is 7/6 times 6. And then we simply multiply. Remember, we multiply the numerator times our whole number because the denominator stays there. It just shows the total number of pieces we have. 7 times 6 is 42. So now we have 42 sixths. And now we have to change this back to a whole number. How many 6's are in 42? 6 times what is 42? It's 7, isn't it? So, we know that again that the ocean is about 7 miles deep. So let's go to the next page. We have a different problem, and let's try it. Another beautiful picture. We have Mount Washington rises more than 1 1/10 miles above sea level. Mount Everest rises 5 times as high. We're just going to skip right here to the solve the problem part just because of time. We know we have two numbers here. We have 1 and 1/10, and we have 5. We also have a key word that shows us we are going to multiply. And remember, the rule is when we multiply times a mixed number, we have to change it to a fraction first. So 1 times 10 is 10, plus 1 is 11. It changes from a mixed number to a fraction, and then we can write the rest of our equation. Now we can actually multiply. 11 times 5 is 55, and the denominator stays the same. Now we have to change that back to a mixed number, because we can't leave our answer in this form. This is called an improper fraction, remember, when the numerator is bigger than the denominator, so we change it back. It's like we're turning a coin over one way and then turning it the other way and then turning it back to the way we started. Mixed number, fraction, now we're going back to a mixed number. How many 10s are in 55? 10 times what is close to 55? It's 5, isn't it? 5 times 10 is 50, so we know we have to take that 50 out because 5 times 10 was 50. We're removing it because we already put the whole number 5 here. 55 minus 50 leaves 5 in our numerator, 5/10. So our answer is 5 and 5/10. So let's go to our check mark problems and see what we can do with these. Remember, these will get you ready for the assignment today. The smallest hummingbird is the bee hummingbird. Well, that's fascinating, but that doesn't really give us information to start our equation, does it? It has a mass of about 1.5 grams. And again, this about is a measurement issue. We're not rounding because we don't round fractions. So that gives us the first thing we need to start our equation, 1.5. A rufous hummingbird's mass is 3 times. There's times. We know we're going to multiply, and we're going to multiply by the whole number of 3. To do that, the very first thing we have to do is change this mixed number to a fraction. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Then we can multiply. We multiply only the numerator. 3 times 3 is 9. And then we have to take this fraction and turn it back into a mixed number. Again, there's the coin. We start with the mixed number, turn it over to the fraction, and now we're going back to the other way, which is the mixed number. So how many 2's are in 9? 2 times what comes close to 9? 2 times 4, right? 2 times 4 is 8. That's as close as we could get, so we take the 8 out, and we have 1 left in our numerator and a half. So our answer is 4 1/2, and we're measuring in grams. So our word is grams, not grams. Hi, Graham. But this grams. All right, our last one today is Sloan needs 3/4 of an hour to drive to Grandma's house. So we start out with 3/4, and it takes her 5 times as long to go to her cousin's house. So we're going to multiply this fraction times this whole number. Well, this is pretty easy to start with because we don't have to change a fraction to a fraction. It's already a fraction. All we have to do, it's kind of like starting from this middle point, is multiply. 3 times 5, 15. We do have to take this fraction and turn it back into a mixed number. Let me read this up just a little bit. So we do that by saying to ourselves, how many 4's are in 15? You know your multiplication, so you can get as close to that as possible. 4 times what is as close as possible to 15 would be 3, right? Because 3 times 4 is 12. We take the 12 away from our numerator, and we have 3 left in our numerator 3 3/4. So we know 3 3/4 has to have a word to tell what it is. We look back here and we're measuring it in hours. So we put our word in and we're done. You are working today on an 8.5 in your skinny book. If you have questions, give me a text or a call and I'll help you out. Good luck.